This video, we're going to talk about creating a visual meeting board that's going to help you run a meeting, in particular when your meeting is remote. There are a lot of challenges with running remote meetings. Maybe you're using Zoom, but finding people aren't fully engaged and focused, and you have to meet, but nobody really likes meeting, so they're doing other things. So using a visual meeting board is going to help you keep engagement and keep your team moving ahead, even if you have to be remote. So some of the benefits of a visual meeting board are more productive meetings. We don't want to take a lot of time in meetings, but we know they're required. We know they're necessary for good communication and for team building, in particular when we're not working together in the same location. We want to have clarity in decisions and actions taken. We don't want to have to be revisiting decisions constantly, and we want to remember what action items people took so we can hold ourselves and our team accountable. The visual board is going to help keep everyone focused. Um, it's going to help people be engaged and not be on their phones or working on something else while they're in the Zoom meeting with everyone. And it will help us be better aligned and also build trust within the team. Okay, so the structure of the visual meeting board as I do it, and I use a very simplified approach, but I break the board up into three different sections: the agenda, decisions, and the action items. And we'll look at each of those in more detail when we get into the demo using Cardsmith. Some best practices that I've come up with in using this method with my teams are to have an agenda that's shared and prioritized. Also to start building the agenda in a shared way and in advance of the meeting is going to help us build trust and build engagement that it's our meeting, not just the project manager's meeting or the team leader's meeting. It's the team's meeting. Facilitation, we want to also share that facilitation. Don't just have one person be the facilitator always. That gets boring. It's not engaging. So I suggest that you play around with rotating the facilitation of the meeting. And then having a consistent structure of the meeting. If the meeting structure is changing every week, people are confused, they're perhaps not comfortable, and it also makes that shared facilitation more difficult. But if there's a consistent structure, it's easy for people to rotate the facilitation, stay more engaged. I also have here continuous improvement because consistency doesn't mean stale or inertia. We want to look at our process and look at our structure of our meeting from time to time, not every week, but from time to time. We'll do this as a team and we'll come up with ideas to make the meeting better. So that's where the continuous improvement comes into play. With that, let's jump into the demo and I will show you how we create a visual meeting board in Cardsmith. To get us started, what I've done here is I've brought in a template board from the Cardsmith template library, and I think this was called a shared meeting agenda board template, and I've renamed it as I brought that into my own account, and this is what it looks like. So you can see here, this is common with our template boards. There's some information about the board and how you might use it, a link to a blog post that discusses the process that we've just talked about. And then there's some cards in here just to kind of give you an idea of what this board might look like after somebody was using it. So I get this. This is great. I'm going to, however, just go ahead and delete everything because I don't want these particular cards. So I'm going to delete these cards. And I'm going to now view the board. So we've got weeks across the columns, and I'm going to add another column here. What I'm going to do, let's say we're going to have 3 weeks just to get us started. We have this meeting weekly. The next week that we're going to have this meeting is July 16th, July 23rd, and July 30th will be our upcoming 3 meetings. And the reason that I start back here and work forward is because you're going to continue to add weeks as you go. So you'll add a week here, and then August 6th or whatever that date is going to be is going to go there. And then your board is going to grow over time. And that's fine because what you can do is simply hide these old columns if you wish to when that time passes. And then, of course, you can unhide those as well. And you'll find your board will get very wide if you use this over a long period of time. And that's the idea here, is to use a consistent board over time so we get used to the process and it's visual and everybody's kind of on the same page. All right, so I'm going to add for our next meeting, I'm going to add a card. And let's take a look at this card. So it looks like the template card associated with this board, or what we call the default card, has these 3 fields. Now, I actually like to keep the action items very simple and very visual, so I'm going to delete this field. There might be action items that are taken and you might want to log them in the card, but I actually like to have them just in the rows and on the front of the board, front and center. Same thing with decisions. So I'm just going to keep it very, very simple. And for the next meeting, let's see, we're going to have our first agenda item be Joe back from vacation. Maybe a simple thing that you might not think has a lot of value, but one tip that I've learned in running meetings is to kind of start the meeting off with something light and airy and celebratory to just let people relax into it and start to get to, in the same mode, let people kind of move from what they were doing into the meeting. So it's great to start things off with an icebreaker or some sort of celebration. And so let's do that and we'll give it a happy face. All right, the other thing that we mentioned in the presentation is that it's a good idea to have this agenda be shared. So I encourage people throughout the week that are on my team to come into this board and add things. So if they come up with an idea that, we need to discuss the roadmap because we've been getting a lot of new information about our existing roadmap, maybe from customers. Times have changed with COVID, and we have to rearrange some things. So anyway, if I was going to add that, I would color this orange so everybody knows that that's my card. That's an optional step. You can just keep it simple if you choose to, or you don't want to make the agenda items so non-anonymous, I guess. All right, so let's create just a few other things. A standing agenda item in my process is to review actions from last week. This is how we hold each other accountable. We're going to take actions as we go through the meeting, and then as the next week's meeting comes in, we'll review the actions and check in and see if people got to their actions, and if not, why not? So that's going to be in the agenda as well. Color that one orange. And then let's see, let's say we have some kind of an urgent issue, urgent bug, and maybe David added that and he's blue, so we'll leave that as a blue card. Okay, so that's basically it. And then when you come and you have the meeting, what we do as a team is we prioritize these things. So our meetings are half an hour, twice a week. We do this, and if we don't have time to discuss everything, we just move it into the next week and we keep to that half an hour. That's also a trust building exercise. So let's go ahead and as a team now, as we're in our meeting, we're going to prioritize things. And usually what we do is we keep a consistency here where we do the celebratory thing first and then the review of the actions, and then we'll prioritize these two things. And so since this bug is urgent, let's go ahead and put that there. And if we don't get to the roadmap, then we're going to move that into next week. Now, as we come up with decisions, we'll document those here. Let's just say no iPhone app until 2021 is a decision that we made as we're discussing our roadmap. That would actually likely come here because that's when we're discussing the roadmap, but we don't want to keep revisiting that over and over again. So we'll do that there. And then basically the action items here would be David to research the bug or whatever people are committing to do in this action item board. So that's essentially it. You want to have a consistent process that you're using. You want to have the agenda be shared. You want to rotate the facilitation of the meeting if you can and if people are comfortable with that. And just really tracking those decisions and the action items. I think if you do this and you do it with confidence and consistency, your team will be feeling a lot more aligned, a lot more focused, and a lot more productive. Good luck.